All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah, welcome back.
We love to just take these documents and really kind of get in there and see what we can find.
Absolutely, yeah.
And today we're looking at 2024 YR5 Safety and Changing the Body .pdf. Quite a mouthful.
It is, yeah.
But, it's all about puberty and some online safety tips.
It is, yeah. It's a really interesting document, actually. It's all about those changes that happen to your body during puberty, and, it can be a really confusing time.
Yeah.
Lots of things going on, lots of new feelings to deal with.
Definitely, yeah.
And I think this document does a really good job of explaining everything in a way that's easy to understand.
Yeah, and it's targeted, I think, at kind of a younger audience, I think.
Yes. Definitely.
Which is great because I think that's the age where you're really kind of going through these changes and you need
that information.
Yeah, it's really important to have this kind of information at that age. So I thought maybe we could start with talking about some of the changes that happen in the female body.
Okay, yeah, sounds good.
And the document talks about the ovaries and the fallopian tubes and the uterus and all of that.
Yes, it does. It covers all of the kind of key anatomical terms.
Right, yeah.
So we can break those down a little bit.
Yeah, and maybe we could start by just explaining what each of those parts does.
Sure. So the ovaries, they're like these little kind of almond-shaped organs.
Yeah.
And they're really important because they're what release the eggs, which is the first step in, potentially creating a baby. And they also produce hormones like estrogen and progesterone.
Oh, wow.
Which are really important for all the changes that happen during puberty.
I didn't realize the ovaries did so much.
They do. They're very busy little organs.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So the ovaries release the eggs, and then where do those eggs go?
So they travel through the fallopian tubes.
Okay.
Which are these kind of thin tubes that connect the ovaries to the uterus. And you might also hear the uterus called the womb. That's another name for it.
Right.
And that's where a baby would grow if you became pregnant.
Wow. It's amazing how everything is connected.
It is. Yeah, the body is incredible.
So the document also talks about the vagina.
Yeah.
And I know that's a part of the female body that could be kind of confusing for people to understand.
It can be, yeah.
So can you explain what the vagina is and what it does?
Sure. So the vagina is a muscular tube that leads from the outside of the body to the uterus.
Okay.
And it's involved in kind of two main things. Sexual intercourse,
right,
and also childbirth.
Yeah.
So it plays a really important role in both of those things.
Yeah, and I think it's important to mention that the vagina is a natural part of the female body.
Absolutely.
And there's nothing to be ashamed of or embarrassed about.
No, not at all. It's something to be celebrated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the document also talks about menstruation. And I know that's something that can be a little bit confusing for young people to understand.
It can be, yeah. It's a big change.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, don't really know what to expect before it happens.
Right.
So it's important to talk about it.
So can you explain what menstruation is and why it happens?
Sure. So basically, menstruation is a natural cycle where the womb or the uterus sheds its lining.
Okay.
And this happens about once a month.
Okay.
And it's basically the body's way of getting rid of the lining of the uterus that it's built up.
Okay.
In case of pregnancy.
Right.
So if you don't become pregnant, then the lining is shed, and that's what your period is.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the document also talks about the labia.
Yes.
And can you explain what the labia are?
Sure. So the labia are the kind of folds of skin that protect the vulva.
Okay.
And the vulva is just the term for the external female sex organs. So the labia are basically like the outer lips and the inner lips.
Okay.
And they're really important for protecting the more sensitive parts of the vulva.
I see.
Yeah.
So the document also talks about the cervix.
It does, yeah.
And can you explain what the cervix is?
Sure. So the cervix is the lower part of the uterus.
Okay.
And it's basically like a narrow opening that connects the uterus to the vagina.
Okay.
And it plays a really important role in pregnancy and childbirth.
Yeah, it sounds like there's so many parts of the female body that work together.
There are, yeah. It's a really complex and amazing system.
It really is.
Yeah.
So I think we've covered most of the changes that happen in the female body.
Yeah, I think so.
Should we move on to the male body?
Sure. Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, great.
Okay, so for the male body, the document also goes over some key terms.
Okay.
starting with the penis, which is the external male sex organ.
Okay, and then what about the internal parts?
Right, so inside we have the testicles, which are responsible for producing sperm,
Okay,
which are the male reproductive cells.
right.
And they also produce testosterone,
Oh.
which is a really important hormone that drives a lot of those changes boys experience during puberty.
Yeah, and I remember learning in school that the testicles are actually held outside of the body
That's right, yeah.
in a pouch of skin called the scrotum.
Yeah, the scrotum.
Yeah, can you explain why that is?
Yeah, so the scrotum has a really important job.
Okay.
It keeps the testicles at a slightly cooler temperature than the rest of the body,
Oh, wow.
which is really important for healthy sperm production.
I see, so it's like a little temperature control system.
Exactly, yeah.
That's fascinating.
It is, yeah. The body's amazing.
So the document also mentions the sperm duct.
Yeah.
And what does that do?
So the sperm duct is basically a tube that carries sperm from the testicles to the urethra.
Okay.
And the urethra is the passage that carries both urine and semen out of the body.
Oh, okay, so it's a dual-purpose passage.
It is, yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So the document also points out nipples.
Yes.
And I know that nipples are present in both males and females,
That's right.
but they don't have the same function in males.
Exactly, yeah. So in males, nipples don't really have a specific function.
Okay.
It's just a reminder that even though male and female bodies are different,
Right.
they also share some common features.
I see. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So the document also uses the term genitals to refer to both male and female external sex organs.
It does, yeah.
And I think that's a good inclusive term to know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good way to refer to those parts of the body without having to specify gender.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about the physical changes that happen during puberty.
We have, yeah.
But what does all of this have to do with online safety?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
So puberty isn't just about physical changes, you know. It's also a time of huge emotional and social development.
Yeah.
You might find yourself, you know, feeling things more intensely
Right.
or wanting to connect with people in new ways.
Yeah.
And with so much of our lives happening online these days, it's really crucial to navigate the digital world safely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the document really emphasizes that meeting people online can be very different from meeting them in person.
Yeah, that's so true.
And it's so easy to present a certain image or persona online.
It is, yeah.
And it's important to be cautious about the information you share.
Absolutely. You never really know who you're talking to online.
Right.
And it's important to remember that not everyone is who they say they are.
Exactly. And I think it's also important to think about how hormones can influence your emotions and behavior online.
That's a really good point, yeah.
Yeah.
Because, you know, during puberty, you might be more likely to take risks
Right.
or make impulsive decisions,
Yeah.
especially when you're interacting with people you don't know very well.
That's true. So how can we stay safe online?
Well, the document mentions this really helpful acronym, THINK,
Okay.
and it stands for, is it true, helpful, inspiring, necessary, and kind?
Wow, I love that.
Yeah, it's a great way to kind of pause and think before you post anything online.
Yeah, and it's a good reminder to be mindful of the impact that your words can have.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Words can be really powerful.
They can.
Yeah.
So the document also stresses the importance of talking to a trusted adult if something online feels wrong or makes you uncomfortable.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think that's so important because you're never alone.
You're not, no.
And there are people who care about you and want to help.
Yeah, there are always people you can talk to.
Yeah, and the document actually provides some contact information for some helpful resources.
It does, yeah. So you can contact Childline at www.childline.org
Okay.
or 0800 1111.
Okay.
And calls to Childline don't show up on phone bills.
Oh, wow. That's really good to know.
Yeah, and in an emergency, you can always call 999 or 112.
Right. And for non-emergency medical help and advice, you can call 111.
That's right. Yeah.
So I think we've covered a lot of really important information today.
I think so too, yeah.
And I think it's really great that we were able to take this document and break it down in a way that's easy to understand.
I agree. Yeah.
So now that we've learned about all of these physical changes and how they can impact our online interactions,
Right.
what do you think? How do you think understanding your own body can help you make safer choices in the digital world?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I think it's all about making informed choices.
Yeah.
Understanding what's happening to your body and how it might be affecting your emotions
Right.
can really help you make smarter decisions online.
Absolutely. And I think it's also important to remember that you have the power to protect yourself.
Yes, definitely.
And you don't have to share anything online that you're not comfortable with.
That's right.
And if something feels wrong, trust your gut and talk to a trusted adult.
Absolutely. You always have the right to say no.
Yeah, well said.
Thank you.
So I think that's about all the time we have for today.
Okay.
But thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
And remember, learning is an ongoing journey.
It is.
And this knowledge can empower you to navigate puberty and online interactions safely and confidently.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power.
It is.
Yeah.
So until next time, stay curious.
And stay safe.
Yeah, see you later.
Sorry.